The video opens on a slow-motion shot of a Viking man's hands, calloused and scarred, bound by thick rope. He is on his knees in the mud, rain slicking his hair. His face is vacant, eyes hollow. The world around him is a blur of gray sky and cold earth. Narrator. There is a particular kind of prison that has no walls. A cage whose bars are forged not from iron, but from memory. You know the one. It's the argument from 5 years ago that still rehearses itself in your mind as you try to sleep. It's the shadow of a past failure that dictates the choices you make today. It's the bitter taste of a grudge you've nursed for so long, it feels like a part of you. We carry these burdens, these invisible shackles, believing they are our story. But they are not. They are a ghost story we tell ourselves. I call it the ghost chain. It is the weight of a past you cannot change, tethering you to a future you will never reach. But what if I told you that the key to breaking this chain is not to forget the past, or even to forgive it? What if the path to true freedom lies in learning how to carry that chain, until it becomes not a weapon to be used against others, but a tool to build a new self? Stay with me, and I will show you how a slave can become a freeman, not by escaping his master, but by mastering himself. Narrator. You feel it, don't you? That dull, constant hum of resentment just beneath the surface. You've built your life around it. Perhaps it's a parent you can never seem to please, a rival who achieved what you believe was rightfully yours, or a version of yourself that let you down in a critical moment. This ghost chain has a distinct gravity. It pulls all your thoughts toward it. You might be at a celebration, surrounded by laughter and warmth, but your mind is elsewhere. It's in that cold, dark room of the past, re-examining the evidence, polishing the wound until it shines. You tell yourself this focus, this anger, gives you purpose. You tell yourself it's a fire that keeps you warm. Let me tell you about a man I know. Every morning, he would make his coffee and sit at his kitchen table, but he wasn't really there. He was in a boardroom from a decade ago, reliving the moment his business partner betrayed him. He imagined what he should have said, the perfect, cutting remark that would have exposed the treachery for all to see. He envisioned his revenge, a detailed and satisfying fantasy where he would rise from the ashes and watch his old partner fall. For 10 years, this fantasy was his closest companion. It was the engine that drove him. But here is the hidden cost of the ghost chain, the terrible secret it keeps from its prisoner. The chain you hold is also holding you. That fire you think keeps you warm is, in fact, consuming your house from the inside out. The man at the kitchen table never started a new business. His relationships grew thin and brittle, starved of the attention he gave his ghost. He hadn't trapped his enemy. He had built a perfect, solitary prison for himself, and handed the ghost the only key. The chain doesn't just bind you to the past. It slowly, meticulously, erases your future. The screen shows a boy with wild eyes, holding 2 small daggers, lunging at a towering, smiling man amidst a chaotic battle. The scene is raw and visceral, yet has the quality of a fading memory. Narrator. To understand how to break this chain, we must turn to the story of a boy who was nothing but his chain. He followed his father's killer, lived among his enemies, and honed himself into a living weapon, all for the day he could claim his prize. His rage was pure. His focus, absolute. He was the perfect prisoner of the past. But then, the unthinkable happened. His goal, the very center of his universe, was stolen from him. Escalate was killed, but not by Thorfinn's hand. And in that moment, the boy was confronted with a terrifying void. The object of his hatred was gone, and with it, his entire identity. He had spent his life chasing a ghost, and now the ghost was gone. What was left? Nothing. An empty shell. A boy who didn't know how to live, only how to hate. This collapse, this descent into true slavery, first of the mind, and then of the body, is where the solution begins. His journey back from that abyss reveals a profound psychological truth. The path to inner freedom is not about achieving your revenge, or forgetting your pain. It is a philosophy we can call empty-handed atonement. It is the process of building a new life, not on the ruins of the old one, but with the very stones of your own prison. It is founded on 3 stark principles. First, the recognition of the empty shell. This is the soul-crushing, yet liberating, realization that the goal you are chasing will not save you. Thorfinn believed killing Escalate would bring him peace, that it would fill the hole his father's death left in him. But when it was over, he was more lost than ever. Your ghost chain promises you that if you can just settle the score, prove them wrong, or get what you're owed, you will finally be whole. This is the great lie of vengeance. The shell is, and always will be, empty. Peace is not found at the end of the chase. Second, the burden of active responsibility. After his collapse, Thorfinn becomes a literal slave on a farm in Denmark. He is catatonic, a ghost in his own life. His awakening does not come from a desire for freedom, but from a simple, profound choice: to atone. He begins to see the lives he took, the pain he caused in his pursuit of vengeance. He realizes he was not just a victim of his past, he was an active participant in his own damnation. He stops blaming the world for his chains and starts looking at his own hands. This is the crucial pivot. Freedom begins the moment you stop saying, "Look what they did to me," and start asking, "What will I do now?" And third, the final and most difficult principle, the abolition of enemies. Years later, a transformed Thorfinn, now a freeman in mind and body, makes a radical declaration: "I have no enemies." This is not a statement of naive pacifism. It is the pinnacle of inner strength. It is the understanding that the person who harmed you is also a prisoner of their own story, their own pain, their own ghost chains. It is the recognition that no one, in the grand, tragic scope of human life, truly wishes to be evil. This doesn't excuse their actions. It does not erase the harm, but it dissolves the hatred that binds you to them. When you have no enemies, you cannot be a prisoner of war. Imagine you are shackled to a great, jagged boulder. For years, you have done nothing but rage against it. You've hammered it, cursed it, bled on it, trying to shatter it into dust. Empty-handed atonement is the moment you stop. You turn, and you look at the chain itself. You feel its weight. You measure its length. And then, you pick up a tool, and you begin to build a house, right there. You don't ignore the boulder. You don't pretend it isn't there. You make it your cornerstone. You integrate the chain into the very foundation of your new home. You have transformed the instrument of your imprisonment into the anchor of your freedom. The visual style shifts to be more direct and instructional. We see close-ups of a pen on paper, a person meditating in a quiet, rustic room, a hand planting a seed in dark soil. The tone becomes more of a guide. Narrator. This philosophy is not merely a story. It is a practical guide. It is a set of tools for dismantling your own prison, one link at a time. Here is how you can begin the work of empty-handed atonement in your own life. First, conduct the inventory of the chain. Take out a piece of paper. Not a screen, but paper. Feel the friction of the pen. Now, write down the name of your ghost. Is it a person? A memory? An event? A belief about yourself? Define it with brutal honesty. Stare it in the face. Below its name, create 2 columns. In the first, write down everything you believe this ghost has given you. Purpose? A sense of identity? A reason to fight? Be fair. In the second column, write down everything this ghost chain has cost you. Peace of mind? Friendships? Opportunities for joy? New relationships? Sleep? Be exhaustive. The purpose of this exercise is not to judge, but to see the transaction clearly. To understand the price you are paying, every single day, to keep this ghost alive. Second, practice radical proximity. Your instinct is to run from the pain, to distract yourself, to numb it. We are going to do the opposite. The next time the memory surfaces, the next time the anger or sadness begins to rise, do not push it away. Stop what you are doing. Close your eyes. And allow the feeling to be there. Do not merge with it. Instead, become a curious observer. Where is it in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest? A heat in your stomach? A pressure behind your eyes? Give it a label, without judgment. Ah, the old resentment has come to visit. Or, this is the feeling of that memory. By observing it as a sensation, rather than a truth, you create a sliver of space. In that space, freedom is born. You are not the storm. You are the sky through which the storm is passing. Third, perform an act of useless creation. Vengeance is an act of destruction. Atonement is an act of creation. Your task is to perform one small, deliberate act of building, with no expectation of reward. This act must be fundamentally useless to your ego and your grudge. Plant something. A small herb on your windowsill, a tree in your community. Write a letter of gratitude to someone from your past and then, do not send it. The act is for you. Tidy a public space. Create a piece of art that no one will ever see. Thorfinn's atonement began with the grueling, useless work of clearing a forest to plant wheat. He wasn't doing it for praise or profit. He was doing it to prove to his own soul that his hands, which had only ever known how to take, could also learn how to give. These small, creative acts rewire your nervous system. They teach you, on a cellular level, that you are more than your wound. You are also a builder. Fourth, humanize the monster. This is the final, most challenging step. It is not about forgiveness. Forgiveness can come later, or not at all. This is about liberation. Bring to mind the person or entity at the other end of your chain. Now, for just 5 minutes, try to imagine their story. Not as an excuse, but as a fact. Imagine them as a child. Imagine their own fears, their own failures, their own ghost chains. What pain might have driven them to cause you pain? Every monster was once a person, and this exercise is about seeing that person, however briefly. The goal is not to absolve them. The goal is to reduce them. To strip away the mythic, demonic power you have given them, and see them for what they are. Another flawed, wounded human being, stumbling through their life just as you are. When your enemy becomes a person, the hatred loses its charge. The chain slackens. These are not easy steps. They are the hard, muddy work of a farmer of the soul. But every act, no matter how small, is a swing of the axe against the bars of your own cage. We see Thorfinn, no longer a boy, but a man. His face is weathered, but his eyes are clear and calm. He stands on a ship, looking toward a new horizon, Vinland. The shot is hopeful, serene. Narrator. The proof of this philosophy is etched into the very soul of our character. Thorfinn begins his story as a slave to an idea, a ghost of vengeance. This mental slavery leads to a physical one, where he is nothing more than property, an empty vessel. But it is on that Danish farm, in the lowest pit of his existence, that he applies these principles without even knowing their names. He takes inventory of his past, haunted by the faces of those he killed. He sits with his pain, enduring nightmares until they give way to a quiet resolve. He performs the ultimate act of useless creation, dedicating years of his life to clearing a forest so others might eat. And finally, through visions and hard-won wisdom, he comes to understand the pain of his enemies, especially Escalate, the man who was both his tormentor and his surrogate father. The result? He walks away from that farm a freeman, long before he is legally granted his freedom. When offered a chance at violence, at returning to his old self, he refuses. He chooses the harder path. His declaration, "I have no enemies," is not a surrender. It is his ultimate victory. It is the sound of the ghost chain, finally, falling to the earth. This journey finds a profound echo in the work of the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. Imprisoned in the death camps of the Holocaust, Frankl observed a strange phenomenon. The survivors, he noted, were not always the most physically robust. They were the ones who could find a meaning in their suffering, a purpose to cling to. They discovered the one thing their captors could never take away. In his words, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." This is the core of it all. The logic is inescapable. To hate your enemy is to be eternally bound to them. You allow them to occupy the most valuable real estate in the world, your mind. You think of them when you wake, when you work, when you try to rest. They dictate your emotions. They are your master. The only way to win is to stop playing the game. To withdraw your energy, not with apathetic surrender, but with the focused, deliberate act of building a life so full of your own purpose, there is simply no room left for the ghost. The final shot is a long, slow zoom out from Thorfinn's face. He looks peaceful, resolute. The landscape around him is vast and wild, a land of promise, not of pain. The music is melancholic but hopeful. Narrator. The chains of the past are heavy. But our hands are not empty. They can be used to break, or they can be used to build. The choice is the only true freedom we have. In the comments below, I want you to answer this one question. What is one useless act of creation you can commit to this week? It could be as simple as buying a flower for a stranger, or writing a single paragraph of a story. Share it below, and let's begin the work of building together. If these journeys through the difficult landscapes of the human heart are a place you find solace and understanding, then join our congregation. Subscribe to the Farmland Preacher and walk this path with us. Thorfinn's journey teaches us that our deepest wounds don't have to be our graves. They can be the very ground from which a new life grows. To explore that idea further, I recommend you watch our video, The Philosophy of the Scar. Why your weakness is your greatest strength. It is the next logical step on this path. You will find it on your screen now. Be well.